in about 10 minutes or less, I'm gonna show you the whole game of real estate. And I'm gonna show you the things that the wealthy do to multiply their money. If you're like me, you've probably asked yourself, like, what are the wealthy doing that I'm not doing? And it feels like they're playing chess and I'm over here playing Candyland. Well, I'm gonna show you you're just a few mindsets and skill sets away from being able to do the same things they do to multiply your money. I'm Brandon, welcome to my channel. I've grown a 7-figure real estate portfolio the past few years while keeping my W-2 9-to-5 job, spending time with my family, and creating generational wealth. So come along with me on the journey as I scale my real estate, and I'm gonna teach you the things that I've learned along the way. And you can do this too. I'm just a normal guy just using these simple techniques. If you're like me, you are in your normal job and maybe you read a book like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you realized, maybe there's a better way that I can grow my wealth than just being an employee for the rest of my life and sacrificing my $5 lattes every day for the next 35 years. Like maybe there's a better way. And if you're like me, you were saying, I want to get to that investor, that business owner quadrant of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad cash flow quadrant. Links down below if you haven't read that book, highly recommend it. Let's say you're interested in real estate and you have a little bit of money and you go out and you find a couple of duplexes that you want to buy. And even if you don't have any money, stick around and I'm going to show you how I started with no money, and you can do similar things that I did. So let's say these duplexes, they're renting out for $1,000 a month. That's your rent, and they are worth $480,000. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go get a loan, get a normal mortgage. So the nice thing about these multifamily deals versus your own house that you bought, the multifamily deals are not solely based on comparable properties in your area. They're based on what you can get for the rent. So this property is the value is linked to the rent, and there's some powerful things we can do with that. So, but first you go to the bank and you're going to get a loan on this, and we're going to be at between 15 and 25% down for the property. So let's say we're going to split the difference on this at 20%. So you're going to have an 80% loan to value. That's what the bank calls it. And you're going to get a loan on the property for $384,000. Okay, and that's your loan. And you're going to put $96,000 down on it. So this is your equity in the property. So let's assume you bought a property and it's in a nice neighborhood, nice area, nice location, but you notice that the rents before you bought it are a little bit under market value. Maybe the management's not that great. Management makes or breaks real estate. And let's say they have some deferred maintenance. Maybe you need to go add some landscaping, you need to do some paint touch-ups, maybe you replace flooring. There's things you can do to to add value to the property. And this is going to allow you to be able to call what we call force appreciation onto the property. So let's say over the next couple years, you make those improvements, you get better tenants in there, and you're able to raise the rents up to $1,300. This is where the compounding nature of multifamily comes into play. So now you're going to go back to the loan and say, hey, my property is worth more because I'm getting $1,300 in rent now where it was $1,000. And the bank's going to say, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's go get an appraisal. The appraiser is going to come in and they're going to multiply your rent per unit times how many units you have times what's called a gross rent multiplier, or GRM, It's one way they can do it. And let's say this is 120 is their gross rent multiplier. That's what it was on mine when I did my deals. So now your property is not worth $480,000 anymore. This property is now worth $624,000. So we hadn't bought any more property. We've just added value to the property, and now we have extra equity in the property. So now you're going to go to the bank and get another loan on this. You're either going to refinance, or you can get a second line of credit from this property. And what that's going to allow you to do is pull out the difference between your new loan and the old loan. So if you go and get another 80% loan to value, you're going to have a new loan of about $500,000. And so that difference of $116,000, you get to take that with you. And you take that money, and it is tax-free money whenever you get this from the bank, because it's on a loan. This is the whole secret behind what the wealthy are doing with their money, how they're able to go and compound and have that. You've heard of a debt snowball, but this is like a real estate avalanche, and they're able to go and grow their money quickly. So you take this and you can put it in another deal. So you've pulled out now, effectively, you pulled out your down payment plus a little bit more. So what is your cash on cash return? What's your cash on cash return for this property now? You don't have any money in the deal, so your cash on cash return is infinite. An infinite cash on cash return. Does that sound better to you than whatever you get on the real estate market, or whatever you got from your Dogecoin, or whatever you're doing flipping couches? Yeah, that sounds better to me. Infinite returns sound awesome. So let's go back to, what if you're still thinking about this initial down payment, and you're like, hey Brandon, I don't have $96,000 to put down on this property. Well, here's what I did. I went and bought my primary residence, a single family home with no money down, using a VA loan. I bought in a great neighborhood in a great market, and I did the same thing I was telling you here about forcing appreciation on that property. I went and fixed up the property. This property was in rough shape. Like the sewer was backed up into the backyard. There was mosquitoes infested in there. Like you would get dizzy from loss of blood just walking in my backyard. The landscaping was terrible. There was like no landscaping. It didn't look like there's been maintenance done in many years, but the structure of the house was really good. So I fixed up around the house on the outside, got some paint, did electrical fixtures, all like simple things you can do or learn to do. And then I did flooring. But what I was able to do between when I bought the house and when I sold it, with I think I put about $10,000 in it, and then a lot of sweat equity, was I forced appreciation on that house, and I was able to sell it and make about $100,000 from that sale. It wasn't quite that much whenever you have proceeds for the real estate agent, but I was able to roll that into this deal, a similar kind of deal as this. When you sell your primary residence, you don't have to pay those capital gains taxes up to a certain amount. With just a few skill sets and mindset shifts, you can do the same thing I've been doing to grow your own real estate portfolio. It doesn't have to be complex. It can be a simple process. Over the next year, I'm going to be sharing how I'm scaling this up to even more properties. And then I'm going to be documenting that journey, but also giving you guys the techniques I use to get here along the way. So follow along on the journey, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.